Well, it's the top of the hour, and I always like to start on time. I know there's quite a few people still coming in to the webinar, but again, I'd like to go ahead and get started so that we can get through everything that we have for everyone on the webinar today. So just a couple things of housekeeping. Please make sure that you keep your camera and microphone off. They should already be off, but sometimes the microphone bleeds through and it's a distraction for our speakers. So if you could just check and make sure that both the camera and the microphone are off, that would be great. Also, we'd love to hear any questions you might have, so please put your questions in the chat. And then the last thing, I know there's going to be many people here that English is not necessarily their main language. So we have the ability for closed captioning. If you take a look at the bottom of your screen, you're going to see a little button down there that has CC in it. If you click on that button, it'll come up and say closed caption is now on, and you'll see English. Click on English, and it will take you to a choice of other languages that you can have come up in the closed captioning down below. So if you're wanting in Portuguese or in Spanish or in German, you can make that change by pushing on the closed caption button below. All right, so welcome to Senior Management Worldwide's webinar on what is interim management and the benefit to your business. First of all, though, I do want to introduce our esteemed speakers here today. I'm Pamela Wasley. I'm the CEO of Cerius Executives in the United States. We also have Brian Alpern, who is the partner at LHH Knightsbridge in Canada. And we have Robson Barbosa, who is the director at Grupa Stelpi in Brazil. And we have a special guest, which you don't see up there yet, who is actually not only a client of ours, but is also an interim executive that we placed on several jobs with Cerius. And his name is Peter Hammond. I'll tell you more about him later on. So we're going to talk about 4 areas. One is, who is Senior Management Worldwide? Another is an explanation of who interim executives are and how they can help you. And one thing I'll just mention about this topic is everybody thinks they can just go on to LinkedIn and pick anybody that has said they've done interim management before. But that's not true, because with everything in the world, there's some that are very good and some that are not. So there's certain attributes that good interim executives have, and we're going to talk about that today. Also, each one of our countries, and we're going to talk about the insights, what makes all of our countries a little bit different when it comes to interim management. And then the last item on here is the benefits of using Senior Management Worldwide to help you find the right talent in your country. All right, who is Senior Management Worldwide? We are the largest and longest alliance of interim management providers globally. In fact, we are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, 20 years in business. And one of the reasons we've been so successful is because we have 215,000 interim executives across the globe, which makes it very easy for us to be able to find the right talent no matter what country you're in. We also have 26 partners in more than 65 cities and offices and in 6 continents. In fact, just last year, we just picked up 2 more continents, one in Senegal, which is in Africa, and another new partner in Brazil, which is in South America. So it's been a very exciting 20 years. And the last item, we have a team-based approach. Now, what does that mean? We are very selective about the partners that we let into Senior Management Worldwide. They really have to have the same philosophies, the same similar processes, so that when a client works with us, it's seamless. You feel like you're just talking to your local provider and having them help you fill a spot or help you with an issue in your company. And that's how we want it. Even if you're using two different countries, maybe you're using Dubai and you're using Australia, it's so seamless. You feel like you're only working with your local provider there in Australia. And for those of you who likes a visual representation of all the countries that we serve, here is a map of all the areas. But keep in mind, because of all the partners that we have in the 65 offices around the world, we actually can help clients in more than what you see here. And then the next one, for the people that like lists, we've now listed all of the 26 partners. All right. And we also wanted to show you some of the global companies that we've been doing business with. I mean, these are large global companies around the world, ones that you recognize like Pfizer, Sony, Philips, Volkswagen. We just wanted to show you some of the people that we've been helping around the globe now. All right. What is interim management and how to select a interim management, one that has the right attributes? So I'm going to turn this over to Brian to go through with all of you. Take it away, Brian.
Thank you, Pam. Good morning, everybody. My name's Brian Alpern. Again, I'm the SMW partner out of Canada. And so I am curious how many of you are intimately familiar with interim management and the concept, and how many of you are brand new to this model. When we speak to clients and potential clients, it's amazing how few people in North and South America actually know about this model or staffing strategy. It's actually very simple. We are in the business of placing senior leaders, usually at the director level, the VP level, and at the C-suite on short-term assignments. Very simple, okay? We do full-time engagements, so 5 days a week. We do part-time engagements, otherwise known as fractional interim management, which can be anywhere from 1 to 4 days a week. And the typical length is at the very least 3 months, and it can go up to, not uncommon that we are asked to place somebody for a year, even 18 or 24 months. Okay, and so just like any contract, our clients have the option of extending as needed. And there is also the ability to take interim leaders on a permanent basis. Now, they may or may not be open to that because many of the individuals that we place love the interim model. They enjoy going into an organization, helping out as needed in the short term, leaving the organization in better shape than when they joined, and then moving on to the next gig. I'd say one of the defining characteristics of our model is the quick start, usually related to our clients' sense of urgency. Many of the SMW partners around the world, they were initially contacted because historically people would come to us when there was an emergency, a sudden departure, and an organization did not have time to conduct a permanent search. So they'd come to us really quickly. And so all of our systems and processes were developed with that speed and urgency in mind. All partner organizations around the world have gathered rosters of talent, of interim talent, that we know are available right away. and are very accessible to the extent that we're able to present a short list to our client within days. On many occasions, I've been called by an organization that has a sense of urgency, and they need somebody yesterday. And so we'll launch the search and reach out to a few people that we know. We present them potentially that day or the next day. And so I've been called on a Wednesday, and I've got somebody starting in a new role on the Friday or following Monday. Not out of the ordinary at all. So I'd say typically it takes 3 to 5 days to present a thorough shortlist. It gives us a chance to reach out to our roster of talent and make sure that people are available, make sure that there's a right fit, present a shortlist. Okay, and then our clients have the option to interview those people and ultimately hire them if they want. Okay. Another common characteristic with interim executives around the world is that they tend to have a ton of experience leading organizations through change. I mentioned that traditional concept of companies reaching out to us saying, we need somebody urgently because somebody went on sick leave or exited the organization abruptly and unexpectedly. There is a very wide range of scenarios for which organizations reach out to us, that being one of the lesser common scenarios these days. That's how it started, but it's evolved dramatically. And so I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but one of the most common business scenarios is that our clients like the idea of bringing somebody in to help with a transformation and really someone that's been there and done it. Okay, we do a vast range of functional areas. So it could be finance, HR, healthcare, IT, project management. It could be really a limitless number of industries from which our clients come from. And one of the interesting pieces is that in North and South America, interim management, as I mentioned, it's not widely understood. In Europe, it is a much more sophisticated, much more mature and developed industry. In the UK alone, interim management is a multi-billion-dollar organization. And that's not the case in any specific country within the Americas just yet. But the growth of our model has been astronomical and dramatic over the last 10 to 15 years, I would say. One of the reasons, thank you, Vim, good timing. One of the reasons is that there's been a very dramatic growth in the business scenarios for which our organizational clients reach out to us, as I mentioned. So what I would call a traditional engagement is, there's a sudden resignation, an individual goes on sick leave. It could be that one of our clients unexpectedly needs to exit a senior leader, okay? And they call us saying, we need somebody to fill that gap right away. But it could also be that we're not replacing any specific individual. It's really common for organizations to call us now saying, we've got this initiative that we simply don't have the skill set for in terms of leading that initiative. We've got a project that needs to be led. We don't have an individual at the senior level that's got the bandwidth to take on that project. And so they'll ask for us to place an individual that has not only a little bit of that experience, but a ton of it. They've been there and done it. They can come in with minimal learning curve and really start delivering results right away. Okay, so there's infinite scenarios for which our clients require an interim executive. It could be to develop a new site. launch a new product. It could be to turn around a specific part of their business. It could be related to an equity carve out of part of their business when they're divesting a piece of their organization. I had a client recently reach out to me asking for an interim executive that can develop an acquisition strategy for them. Okay, so you're noticing here that there are interim engagements that resemble traditional leadership roles, you know, an interim head of HR, for example, or an interim director of HR, where that interim leader is leading a team. But then there are also interim engagements that very much resemble consulting. And in a way, we have become a broker for individual consultants and our organizational clients. Okay, not quite yet, Vim, if you could go back. So just to give you a few examples, I had an organization reach out to me that was transparent that they had a technology function that had not yet joined the 21st century. They recognized they needed a dramatic overhaul of their technology group, their systems, processes. They were upfront that they had already reached out to a consulting company, one of the large consulting organizations, who was providing them with a proposal to support them with a team of consultants to come on board and help with this modernization project. They simultaneously reached out to us to inquire about the possibility of an interim CIO joining the organization. And ultimately, they went the interim route. And the reason that they gave us when it was all said and done was that they really liked the idea of a technology leader that was going to be supporting this massive transformation that was very much integrated with the rest of the leadership team and integrated as an employee. And so what this person did was they oversaw the day-to-day technology function and technology team, but simultaneously made changes leading to this massive transformation. So it's almost, and this is, I would say, by far the most common type of business scenario for which our clients reach out to us, and that is the concept of blending traditional leadership with consulting, where you're almost flying the plane and remodeling it at the same time. Okay, our clients do all kinds of creative work that's or creative thinking that's helped us evolve our business over the years. I've placed co-CFOs, for example, because our client's current CFO simply didn't have the bandwidth to manage the day-to-day financial controls and reporting requirements because they were intensely involved with, let's say, a corporate development or M&A initiative. It's also really common these days. Well, I'd say one of the most growing types of interim work tends to be in support of succession planning. So an example is when, let's say, a head of marketing exits an organization, and there's a VP of marketing or a director of marketing that our client feels is amazing talent. They really want to retain that person. And so, but maybe they're not quite ready to take on that head of marketing role. And so what they'll do is once the incumbent exits the organization, they call us and ask us for an interim head of marketing. And part of the mandate, of course, is overseeing the day-to-day marketing group. Another part of the mandate is to help coach, groom, and mentor that high potential individual so that within a year or so, they're ready to take on the role. And then the interim leader often is asked to help with the transition. maybe not 5 days a week, but a couple of days a week, maybe to help out with some special projects that are ongoing, maybe to serve as a continued source of coaching for that individual, but eventually they transition out of the organization. It's also really common for our clients to request somebody that is more of an overhire. So another example would be if, let's say, a senior leader exits a company, they resign suddenly. Our client says, you know what, we've got so much going on. We don't want more of the same in terms of that exact leadership profile. So they put the brakes on running a permanent search, and they'll hire an interim leader that, as I said, is an overhire, somebody that is infinitely more senior than they would require within their organization long term. But in the short term, that firepower really helps to bolster the business and potentially revamp or transform the business. Our clients often ask for this overhire, this interim leader, to help plan the future state of a particular function within the business, including what the ideal leader looks like long term once the interim leader leaves. And so even though in the short term, an overhire might be more expensive, ultimately it becomes easier to hire a more junior leader for the permanent role. And they have a stronger platform to be successful long term because of the work that the interim leader has done. Pam, anything you want to add to that?
Nope, you're doing great.
All right. So let's move on to what makes an interim executive successful. So I would say, at least in Canada, our average age of the interim executives that we place tends to be in well into their 50s, probably around mid 50s. And it's simply because of that overhire concept. Our clients need somebody that has been there and done it, and they've got years and years of experience at the director level or above. It just happens that the baby boomer generation, and now plenty of Gen X's as well, love the idea as they grow into the latter stages of their career. They simply no longer require the predictability and stability of permanent work, and they like the excitement of going into an organization and helping out in the short term. One of the benefits of utilizing an interim executive is that they're often flexible. So I've placed people, specific people, multiple times in a wide variety of roles. And it's simply because they're at a stage in their career where title is not important. Fortunately, or one of the benefits for our clients, is that at times these people's flexibility extends to compensation as well. And they have, it's often not about money, I would say. So I'd say another benefit, ideal interim executives, the people that we look for when we're building our roster, when we continue to build our roster, is that they're not emotionally attached to the work that they do. They're passionate, but they're happy to help our clients out in the short term, and doing whatever is needed, including providing recommendations or providing a plan to elevate our client's business. And frankly, if you decide to execute on that plan, fantastic. If you don't, that's fine. Their ego is left at the door. They're not going to be offended. One of the most common requests that we get is for hands-on leadership. Whether it's a startup, a mid-size organization, or a massive multinational company, the most common request that we get is for somebody that can lead and operate strategically, but also roll up their sleeves and get into the weeds, work alongside their team, and help teach and coach as they lead. So most interim leaders are great at pitching in, as I said, as needed, and that includes doing detailed work. Very much like an independent consultant that is accustomed to going into an organization and, hey, if they need to help develop HR policy, for example, or some HR processes, they're happy to do that, even though they've been at the senior level in the past. As I mentioned, achieving quick results, that's everything. That is almost the definition of interim management. It's all quick. So we only collect people on our rosters and only place interim leaders with our clients that have minimal learning curves and are able to deliver quick results. It's interesting. It's actually quite rare for us to present on our shortlist to our clients in response to a specific need out-of-the-box candidates. We're rarely having to explain to our clients why this person might fit, which is very much in contrast to the permanent search world. Our interim executives tend to be slam dunk candidates, slam dunk obvious fits. You look at their LinkedIn profile, you look at their resume, and it's obvious why we're putting them forward. Another characteristic that makes an interim executive successful is their ability to be direct, yet diplomatic and tactful. So it's really common for me to hear from one of my client contacts that they need somebody that can give the organization some tough love. And that's very much like a consultant who is not attached to that concept of a long-term relationship, permanent relationship. There's no dependence on the part of an interim leader to the organization. And so they recognize that part of the value that they offer as an interim executive is telling the organization the stuff that they need to hear that other senior leaders within that company are perhaps not comfortable communicating. So I've got a private equity, a very large private equity company that has a portfolio of hundreds of companies. They're a great client because they love the idea of having a neutral, impartial, objective senior leader that can join one of their portfolio companies and join the leadership team of their portfolio companies on an interim basis and help the operational and day-to-day, but also provide advisory support in a very objective way to the ownership group as far as how the company is functioning and any changes that need to be made. But there's no doubt being likable, tactful, and diplomatic is a very common characteristic for being successful. I've also had clients ask me for somebody that is not all that collaborative, not all that tactful and direct, because they need someone to execute. In this case, it was a supply chain transformation. They needed an interim leader to come in and execute a strategy that had already been developed, and they needed somebody with an extreme bias for action and driving change. They said, and this isn't that common, but just to suggest the wide range of scenarios, our client said if this person has any obstacles within our business from people, we will handle them. At the senior level, everybody has bought into this change. Within the team at the junior level, if there are any obstacles, we'll deal with them. We need somebody that can drive this change and drive it hard. Many interim executives have that common ability to tap into their networks if additional resources are required. They're latter stages of their career often, and so very, very well connected. I mentioned the concept of being an overhire. So they're all subject matter experts. Certainly we get requests for generalists, a CEO or uh, a, a, a director of finance rather than a director of financial planning and analysis. So they can be generalists as well. And I'd say the people that we are able to place again and again and again have one thing in common, and that is a wide range of industry experience. The individuals that we can place, dozens of times, we know that it doesn't matter if our client is a bank or a hospital or a retail organization or mining company, manufacturing company. They have so much industry experience that we can plug them into almost any client of ours. Now, there's also instances where our clients want a true industry insider. And so, of course, we have interim executives that, I've got CPG clients, for example, that where I've placed interim executives that have only worked within CPG. But in terms of the people that we can place again and again and again across multiple industries, it's obvious that that diversity is that common characteristic.
Thanks, Brian. This is great information. Now, let's move on to Peter Hammond. I can't tell you how pleased I am that he's here. He was actually supposed to be in France this week. It got postponed till next week. So we have the pleasure of having him here, and he can talk to you about this perspective of being a CEO that has used interim executives, as well as being an interim executive who's helped CEOs solve issues within their companies. So Peter, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Pam. Yeah, so let me jump right into this. I have been in this field for 6 years now, and it's been wonderful. I just in January, I had a situation where I was interim president for a company, and the director of finance left, gave us 6 weeks notice. And, so we had plenty of time to do things, but we really decided that we wanted to bring in someone interim so that we would have a really smooth transition. We didn't want to hire someone 8 weeks out or 10 weeks out and lose all that transformation of knowledge. So that was a very successful path for us. I was in another organization where I was doing an interim COO role, and we had a controller that was not at the level that we needed them to be, but we also, didn't have the finances to have a full-time CFO. And so we brought in a fractional CFO, and they would work with the end of month closing, and they would help mentor this person. It was a really nice balance where you could get the skills that you need when you needed that. There's a couple, we're talking about executives, but there's a couple similar situations where I've been in where, for example, I was working with a manufacturing company that needed lean work. And so we brought in a really high-powered lean person. Lean manufacturing has been around for a long time. Everybody sort of thinks that they know how to do it, right? But there's people that do this at a very high level, and brought someone in and transformed the whole way that we operated. Last example, again, a really specific person. I was at a company with a bunch of great engineers, and as you know, engineers are excellent at fiddling with things and changing processes. They're not always great at explaining it to people and at documenting exactly how things are done. Well, you just do it the right way. Well, no, what exactly is the right way? And so we went out and we got a novelist who had some experience in industry, and they were a tech writer, and they sat for 2 months and just listened to the engineers and documented everything. So there's a wide variety of situations where bringing in interim people and fractional people has been useful to me. in terms of being an interim executive, I would say for me, the most important thing is, life is short, business is interesting. As an interim, I get to work on hard problems, exciting problems, watch big transformations. I don't have to, I worked for a large corporation for the first dozen years of my life, and making decisions took a long time. And so you could have all these great ideas, and you spend a lot of time selling them. And when I come into an assignment, within the first couple days, we're totally aligned on this is exactly what we want to do. The company's ready for it. And I like that. And I also, it helps me with my focus as well. It's not like, oh yeah, we could do this, could do that. It's, coming to work every day and knowing exactly what needs to be done, and 8 hours later, seeing things much better than they were before is fulfilling to me as an executive. I would like to say that as an interim, you have some control over your life. That you can do this work for a while and then take a pause and go to New Zealand for 2 months, or write a book, or all that sort of thing. And I keep thinking that that's the way it's going to work for me. And Pam keeps finding assignments for me. And so it's always fun. And so I'll do it after the next. But, someone with maybe more discipline and saying no to fun opportunities would have that opportunity to fit in those pieces of your life that you really would like to do. For some people, it's a path to other things. The organization that I'm working with right now, interim president that became the president, I've had an opportunity where I was helping people with a transition, and ended up joining their board of directors for a certain period of time, and that was a kind of a fun experience for me to do that. And the last thing is just in terms of networking. I go to networking events and meet people and all that sort of thing, but there's nothing like going and working together with someone for 3 to 6 months. They'll remember you, for the rest of your career. And when someone else has a problem, they'll help you. If you go meet somebody at a meeting, if you don't follow up well, and really get engaged with them, it's not nearly the same level of connection. I think Brian did a great job of laying out the benefits as to why a company would use interim management. I'd add a couple thoughts. And, this is something that we all understand, but I think it's important to keep reminding ourselves. People started existing, 5 million years ago, and it took them 3 million years to start using tools. And it took them another 1 million years to start using fire. All right. The pace of change in human history has been slow. And now the pace of change is just amazing, right? The industrial age, the computer age, to the internet age. AI is going to be faster than the transformation that the internet brought to the world. And if you're running the company the same way that you were 5 years ago, you might not survive, right? And so being able to tap into resources, right, and that can help you to transform as a company. And every company that I go to, they're always apologizing about, yeah, well, this is bad and that's bad. We know it's bad. We haven't been able to deal with it. Bringing in someone interim allows you to take, you don't have to fix everything, right? But the things that are really critical and are going to determine the company's future, this is an opportunity to be transformational for the company. All right, that's what I had.
Thank you, Peter. And just one comment, you can never retire.
Who would want to?
All right, let's move on to the insights from each one of our countries. I'm going to start with the U.S. Everybody thinks the U.S. is actually a fairly mature market, and it is somewhat. We did start in the 1990s, but that was mainly in finance. It was a interim or part-time controller or CFO. It really wasn't until 2014 where they started to look at interim executive management for other roles in HR and engineering and IT and sales and marketing. So really, it was then when the gig economy started to get traction that you saw the market in the United States start to really expand. And we're in diverse industries. Some countries, they focus on manufacturing, automotive, and other areas. We here in the United States, we focus on all of them. I mean, every single type of company, whether you're in manufacturing, healthcare, financial services, whatever, can be construction, you have a need for interim managers at one time or another. So we serve all industries. We also have a very large pool of interim executives. We have over 12,000 across the United States that we place in opportunities. And the nice thing about that is no matter whether you're in a small town in Tennessee, whether you're in Montana, or you're in Miami or in San Francisco, we have the interim executives that we can place and help you with whatever needs you have. And now, unlike back in the 1990s, we use interim executives, or I should say our clients use interim executives for strategic purposes. It used to be that they would hire somebody for a controller that just got fired and they need somebody to fill in until they found somebody on a permanent basis. Or they had somebody in HR that was going out on maternity leave and we would place somebody in there. So they were more placeholders. That's not what we get today. When clients come to us, they're addressing immediate challenges that they have within their companies. Things like, my employee turnover is so high, can you help me? None of our technology talks to each other in our company, and we're running so efficiently, we just can't make a profit. Can you help me? Another one is, I have a marketing and sales department, but yet my sales have plateaued. What do I do? These are the types of things that we get from our clients today. It's not that, oh, I need an interim sales executive. Oh, I need an interim controller. They don't ask those questions anymore. They specifically get to the point of what is their need, which we love because we can actually serve our clients better. Also, demand in the US is extremely high. It was interesting because HR was a functional area that before the pandemic really wasn't that high up in the functional areas that we would place very often. Now, because of the pandemic and all the changes that have occurred in companies today, it is either one or two on our list of functional areas that we place. Just like I mentioned, we have all this turnover in our employees. What do I do? Instead of going to payroll or somebody in administration trying to help them out in those issues, they're really looking for somebody who knows what they're doing in HR now. So HR operations are usually our number one, and number two, finance is right up there with it. IT, and then sales and marketing also very high on the list. And then the other thing I'll mention is we do a lot. In fact, it kind of started back in the pandemic as well. We have something called try before you buy. Clients, they've hired a operations manager, and they've actually had 3 in the last 2 years. They just can't get the role right. So they come to us and say, hey, can you help us? The department is now just a real mess. Can you help us clean it up and then help us hire a permanent person for that role? Well, along the way, they find out that they really like the interim executive in operations that we put in their company. So they've come to us and they say, can we keep this person? Absolutely. Well, now that happens quite a bit, and 20 to 25% of our business converts to full-time. All right, I'm going to pass the baton over to Brian to talk about Canada.
Thank you, Pam. Yeah, very similar to the United States, albeit on a smaller scale. But in terms of the growth trajectory of our model, very, very similar. So we've been in business for just over 20 years. LHH Knightsbridge has, and we service all industries. In terms of functional areas, the most common, I'd say probably 60 to 70% of all of our searches are within the functional areas of finance, HR, IT. For myself, it's operations. I would also add healthcare. I've got a colleague that is exclusively focused on healthcare, and it's quite a popular service for that industry. Not for profit as well. It's a great value proposition. Interim management is for healthcare and not for profit, where clients can bring in somebody senior with that comes from a more sophisticated industry and pass along best practices to their organization in a few months prior to exiting. We also used to get a ton of emergency gap filling situations, and we still do. It sounds like, Pam, you don't get many of those anymore, but we do. The interesting piece with that, when a company calls us saying we just had to exit our head of sales, we need an interim leader. Usually, it's not just a keep the lights on type of scenario. Usually when we chat with our clients about what's going on within their business, they decide that, all right, we need somebody to oversee the day-to-day and keep the lights on, but there's so much going on within the competitive landscape of our industry that we're going to bring somebody that can help us strategically as well, and perhaps plan for change. We absolutely, just like in the permanent world, we place interim leaders that work remotely on a hybrid basis in the office at times, and 5 days a week in the office or facility. Okay, like Pam in the US, we have a very large pool of thousands of interim leaders. In terms of general statistics, about a quarter of our placements are at the C-suite. The rest is divided up between VP and director. Once in a while, we'll place manager level, but it's usually a manager level role that we place with an individual that has director level experience. Okay, so average placement term is about 10 months for us in Canada. 75% of our placements are extended because there's simply more work to be done once the interim executive has shaken up the hornet's nest. And similar to the US, 25% roughly of our assignments do get converted to permanent.
Great.
Pam?
Thanks, Brian. Let's move over to Robson.
Yes. Good day, everyone. It's a pleasure to talk to this fantastic audience that we have today. Let me do a quick introduction. I'm Robson, the Executive Director of CELP, one of the largest HR consulting company in Brazil. Through the 59 years operating in our country, we are always looking to stay ahead of the national market, providing HR solutions to our clients based on executive search, interim management, leadership program, people development, and team building. We have seen too many challenges that the companies are having, and we are always bringing new solutions to them. Today, we will focus on the interim executive management service as a perfect solution applied to all of the situations that Pam and Brian and also Peter explained in a global market. At CELP, the services is provided through our CELP Executive Division as a member of the Senior Management Worldwide Business Network. We are proud to be part of it. And now, I will explain why CELP offers these services, providing an economic and political overview from the latest years. Brazil is the 9th largest economy in the world. However, it faced significant challenges in recent years. Around 9 years ago, Brazil experienced a severe recession, with the economy contracting by almost 70%. Since then, Brazil has been working hard to recover. In 2022, the economy grew by 2.9%, and the first half of 2023 saw robust economic activity due to an exceptional agribusiness harvest and resilient household spending. Consumer spending remained strong. Mining is also moving faster with many projects that were stopped before. Automobile industry are coming to Brazil, mainly Chinese brands as BYD, Haval, GMW, and others. And in a political context, Brazil's political landscape has been dynamic. Different governmental and political party chains have influenced policies and economy decisions. The country's executive and legislative branches play crucial roles in shaping policies and reform. After taking a look in this scenario, private companies are continuing to promote their growth, investing in new business, R&D, culture and people change management, some expansion plans in different kinds of industry. M&A process is running as one of the strategy to guarantee the growth, and many solutions has been created using the power of interim executive management as a best practice. In Brazil, interim management is not so mature as in Europe, not so growth as in US and Canada, but it's a very, very nice trend that is becoming to the market, and many companies are already adapting in your strategy. So interim managers brings to the companies advantage according to specifically context of Brazil. Expertise and flexibility, because interim managers have specialized skills and experience to address specific challenges or projects. Their flexibility allows companies to adapt quickly to changing circumstances without long-term commitments. Objective perspective. Interim managers offer an unbiased view. They can identify inefficiencies, propose improvements, and drive change effectively. Cost-effective solution. Hiring interim managers for specific periods or projects can be more cost-effective than maintaining full-time leadership positions. Fast results. Interim managers hit the ground running, focus on immediate goals. The short-term engagement ensures swift execution and results. Knowledge transfer. Interim managers transfer knowledge and best practice to existing teams. This helps build internal capabilities and enhances organizational resilience. Interim managers provide stability and continuity navigating in an uncertain environment. They can guide companies through transitions, regulatory changes, or market shifts. The another good advantage is return of the investment and business turnaround, redefining management models and strategic planning. In the other side, interim management practice align with the new personal lifestyle that many executives start to looking for after the COVID pandemic. Better quality of life, working for specific demands, and brings very good results in a short time, in a short period. So to summarize, hiring interim managers in Brazil can provide target expertise, agility, and cost savings, making them valuable assets for companies navigating in a complex economy and political context. Consider leveraging their skills to address specific challenges and drive growth in your organization. Thanks in advance for your attention, and soon I could answer questions that you have. Let's continue with Pam.
All right. Thank you, Robson. That was excellent information because Brazil is a somewhat new market, but the demand absolutely is there. So one last slide. How do you work with SMW? So where do you start? It's so easy to work with senior management worldwide. You contact your local provider in your country. It could be in Australia, and the company in Australia needs somebody in Germany to work with them on their manufacturing plant. So first of all, you'll talk to your local provider there in Australia. He will listen to what your needs are. Then he gets the partner from Germany on the line with you. And the three of you talk about, okay, so what are your needs? How do we solve this? You know, what specifically do we need in an interim executive? And literally within 2 days, if that long, we'll have candidates for the client in Australia to interview. They interview and make a decision as to which interim executive that they want. And then that interim executive can start as early as Monday of the next week. So very, very easy. I mean, we make this whole process, as I mentioned earlier, seamlessly because we all have similar processes. We have all similar philosophies on how we take care of clients. So you will not find anything easier. I mean, it sounds very complicated and terrible to have to work across the world with another country, but not when you work with senior management worldwide. I want to thank every one of you for attending today. This has been great. I want to thank our speakers for all the great information they've imparted on everyone today. And if you have any additional questions, we're going to collect those questions at the end of this webinar, and we will get back to you. Or you can go to our website, which is smw-interim.com, and you'll find more information about SMW, or you can contact us right there on that site. Again, thank you all for attending, and have a great day.